Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. It became a two-way battle between Judge Ratha and Advocate Mnisi in the Pretoria High Court yesterday. In the past, I've always reported about this relationship between Advocate Mnisi and Judge Ratha, and I've always characterized it as toxic. Almost every second day, there will be one sort of run-in or another between the two. The respect is no longer there. They shout down each other as if that place was not a courtroom. So this time it involved that evidence that Baloyi took the whole day yesterday trying to connect telephone calls from one, place to another throughout KZN. And of course, linking them with, the areas where they were picked up. That evidence was, in my view, unhelpful. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that when this matter came up, Advocate Mnisi objected because his objection was along the lines of saying, what is the purpose of all this? Because Baloyi was giving us all that telephone, evidence, like the prosecutor that he became, to try and say the accused persons as far back as 2014 were communicating with each other, and that these telephone conversations had been picked up from cell phone towers in areas known to Absalom Zungu. What a way to stretch it. So what if Absalom Zungu knows about these places? What will that achieve? Because the conversations are between, or the telephone conversations are between the accused themselves. And it is not even clear what they are talking about. So what has it got to do with Absalom Zungu? That was Mnisi's gripe yesterday when he had another run-in with the judge. And it was very ugly. Take a listen to this.
That's my concern. It's leading to this witness to say information shows that at that particular point they were at these areas where this witness is confirming to be knowing. And in any event, what does that have to do with this witness? Whether they were there or they were not there, what does that have to do with this witness?
Some of us didn't understand the evidence given by Pinky Tellingham.
Maybe.
Pinky Tellingham, when he was giving evidence, cell phone evidence,
yes,
he used to mention that this number got in touch with this number at such and such an age, at such and such a time, and the poll which was registered is this and this poll. Is that not what was happening?
But what does that have to do with this witness?
No, I just want to...
What does that have to do with this witness?
You don't have to argue with me.
No, the court has allowed the state to
don't argue with me.
Number of
Don't argue with me.
I'm not arguing with
What are you doing?
I'm not arguing
the other day you pointed me like this.
No, I am saying
that on a number
of occasions this court has allowed the state to get away with murder.
Mr. Baloyi, is that not how the evidence was adduced?
Well, indeed, my lord. Then we're just merely explaining the relevance of...
So that is just how ugly it has become, They ended up arguing, and Judge Ratha was saying, don't argue with me, and Mnisi retorted, I'm not arguing with you. And Judge Ratha said, the other day you were pointing fingers at me. What an ugly scenario to have unfolded in that courtroom yesterday. But like I am saying now, that relationship must somehow be repaired, if only for the sake of the accused persons that advocates Mnisi represents. Because, every objection that Advocate Mnisi comes up these days becomes an objection which is not directed rightly to the prosecution. Because when one party stands up and makes an objection, the procedure is that it is the other party and not the court that has to intervene and make an input into that objection. And once the other party has made an input into that objection, the court can then weigh the two positions and make a ruling. But this is not how it is going in Judge Ratha's court. It is simply not going that way. It becomes a tug of war between Advocate Mnisi and the court, and Baloyi will simply sit there and not be part of it. And the only time that Baloyi will be called upon by the court is the usual cordial invitation to say, Mr. Baloyi, is this not what the evidence says? So Baloyi will then stand up as the good boy of the court and say, well, I agree, this is the position, your lordship, and that is the end of the story. So Mnisi is getting sidelined in the process, and that can only have dire consequences for his clients. Because if Mnisi is going to be sidelined, by extension, that means his client's case is being sidelined and not being seriously considered by the court just because of that toxic relationship that has developed between him and Judge Ratha. What an unfortunate situation. Yesterday, Mnisi stood his ground. Because all due credit to Mnisi, most of the time Mnisi is justified. And he rightly pointed out yesterday that, the prosecution here is being allowed to get away with murder. So that is basically how it went yesterday. But the most significant thing about yesterday was that at the end of the day, Absalom Zungu denounced the signature on Exhibit UU in brackets 1, tendered before the Pretoria High Court by the prosecution. He vehemently denied ever deposing to such an affidavit, and the affidavit stands or remains what it is, a forgery. And there can be no doubt at this stage who the forgery can be attributed to, or the forging can be attributed to. It is Brigadier Kininda and his associates. Having said that, let me say that in a later edition of the Daily Fix today, I'll be bringing you an update of today's developments, because we expect Advocate Mnisi to re-examine Absalom Zungu. And like I indicated yesterday, I don't think it's going to be a long re-examination. But let us wait for that and see how it goes. And after that, we expect the defense to call another witness. Who that witness it will be, nobody knows at this stage. But let us brace ourselves for development this morning and have a wonderful, wonderful day.